nonprofit spotlight education session with the Journey of Hope. And so I've got Laura Corbett here from the Journey of Hope, who is going to introduce herself, give us a little of her backstory, and then talk to us about the Journey of Hope. We've been supportive of the Journey of Hope for the last couple of years in our holiday mixer. We've collected stuffed animals and things for children, but I don't know that we all fully understand exactly how that all works. So with that, Laura, could you come up and share with us and the Facebook audience about the Journey of Hope?
Thank you. Well, my name is Laura Corbett, and I'm the Executive Director of Journey of Hope. And how I came to be in this role is kind of a circuitous path. I started off in corporate responsibility. I went to graduate school. I got my MBA in corporate responsibility and sustainability because I wanted to make a really positive impact in the world. And to me, the power of the world is in multinationals and in business. So I thought, I'm going to work from the inside out. I stepped away from that for a few years to have children. When I came back, motherhood changes you, parenthood changes you, and I needed something a lot more hands-on where I could see and touch and taste and feel the work that I was doing. So that drew me into the nonprofit world. I was recruited to Journey of Hope last year. There was a recruiter who called me. They were looking for a new ED, and I became very interested because childhood grief is part of my own story. My father died when I was 10 years old. And so I knew that I've always known that I'm here to help people, and I knew that I was supposed to be doing this and connecting with other kids like me and guiding them to find some help through healthy reconciliation of grief. So that's a little bit about me. And Journey of Hope, I'm so glad you've been involved in the past with providing stuffed animals. And I'll actually tell you, I don't know if you know how those stuffed animals are used. I'll tell you a little bit about that when I tell you about our program. But they're a very significant part of the beginning of a child's journey, that Journey of Hope. So I really appreciate you inviting me to come here to talk to you today. The work that we do is around grief and loss, and we all know what loss is. We've all felt it in our own lives, whether it's loss through a job loss or loss through divorce or moving from one state to another and leaving family so that we can take another job. And certainly most of us, by the time we're adults, have experienced loss through death. Now, as an adult, we have learned, hopefully over the years, a few ways of dealing with that. So we know that there are big feelings, we know that they come up, and we're going to have to do something with them. We understand that. As adults, we probably have learned a few things about how to do that. So maybe we talk to a friend, a family member, someone in our religious community. We might go for a walk or journal or do something, but we usually have a few coping skills. And we also know that those feelings aren't going to last forever. We know that this too shall pass. Children don't come into the world with those skills. And when they experience a loss, when they experience a death at a young age, those feelings are not only enormous and overwhelming, they're very confusing. And they don't have any natural skills on how to deal with that. So what Journey of Hope does is we essentially take those children by the hand and we guide them down a healthy path of expression and reconciliation of grief. So the mission of Journey of Hope is to help children as young as age 3. We're one of the few centers in the nation that helps children that young. Children, teens, young adults, and their parents or adult caregivers as they mourn the death of a loved one. So I want to play a 6-minute video because a few of our families will be chatting in this video, and I feel like they do a much better job at explaining what we do than I do. So hopefully this is set up.
If you need, just press the power button on the screen and you're gone into sleep mode.
Is that it? No.
It's a little right next to it, the other way. There you go. There you go.
2002, and he passed away in April.
Give me just a moment. I want the volume to come from here.
use I guess we'll use.
It is going to have to come from here. I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully it
Not
is
sure what the deal is there.
loud enough. Oh, it is. Can you all hear that?
Yeah.
My husband was diagnosed with leukemia in May of 2002 and passed away in April of 2004.
My 14-year-old daughter committed suicide March 20th. This year will be 10 years. And at about 10 after 9, literally 2 hours after Christy left our home, the doctor came in and said, "Mr. Hunley, I'm sorry to tell you this. There's no easy way to tell you, but your wife is dead."
He ended his own life, so it's a lot harder to think about that because, I mean, that was my brother. Who expects that from somebody?
I guess a little over 3 years ago, we lost my husband. It's a difficult thing for kids to grasp. It's difficult for adults to grasp.
Journey of Hope is an oasis in the midst of a chaotic world. It's a place, perhaps the place, in this part of our area where we can guarantee that an individual, a child, a family can come and receive appropriate support for the work of mourning that they must do in order to heal.
When we went to take him to school, he had been talking about his mother's death to some of the kids, and this was, 4th grade. And it started to apparently freak out some of the kids. And so the counselor talked to me and said, "Look, you need to try to talk to him, maybe, not to have him talk to all these kids about this, but here's a place where there will be kids that he can talk to that are his age." And so we're like, "Really? All right, let's go check this out."
Just made that empty feeling of being alone go away in a sense.
My brother died when I was in the 10th grade, and when something like that happens, my mom and dad, and through no fault of their own, were only like part of a parent because they were so deep in their grief. They had to take care of themselves and could barely do that.
In all honesty, originally I wasn't going to because, I didn't think it was a good plan. I didn't want to talk to the lady. It was a bunch of stuff, but I eventually ended up going for it because I was like, I at least should give it a try. And also my mom really wanted me to. So I gave it a try, and it was actually a lot nicer than I thought it would be. And people were more accepting than I thought they would be because, for me, because I'm younger, teenagers aren't very accepting sometimes. They just kind of get over it, and I'm just like, no, it's not that simple.
Without Journey of Hope, I wouldn't have known where to start and what to say and how to talk with them about certain things. And not only do they have the facilitators there to kind of help guide you, but there's a whole group of people that are either going through it or have been there. And that's the biggest part for me that was really helpful, because there's not too many people out there that have gone through something like this that you just meet on the street.
I knew I needed something because I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know what to do. I just knew that there was something I had to do. And so they recommended Journey of Hope, and so we went. And they had dinner, and dinner was great.
We have made friends just sitting down and talking to each other during dinner, even more so than being around in the group. I think the dinner is very important because everyone in the groups, we talk to each other all the time, but in the dinner, you get to interact with people that were in different groups.
Once you get done with your immediate needs, you get food, and then you learn that you're not all by yourself. Then, as you go through the process of Journey of Hope, you start to learn how to move forward in a world that's been completely shattered, and how to piece things back together, knowing that it won't ever be the same. But how do you tell your story? How do you talk to people? How do you deal with those days that are just so long, and the nights that are even longer,
It's that shared experience that connects us with each other. And it's striking that having that same experience would make that much difference, but it does.
There's a point that I came to that I've seen so many others come to in a group, is a switch kind of went off in my head. It was a decision that I just didn't want to feel like that for the rest of my life. I didn't want to stay stuck in that feeling. I want to experience joy. I want to have fun. I want to build dreams and look forward to the rest of my life. And Journey of Hope got me to that point.
The name of it is what it is. It's a journey of hope. A hope to be happy in life instead of grieving every day. It gives you a chance to show the way you feel, so it isn't stuck inside you. It's a journey of hope to live a better life.
Journey of Hope has been the greatest thing that has happened to us after this tragedy. It is something that has allowed us to come together with other people that share the same pain, and we've been able to talk about it and just and help each other.
It's a great place. You should go.
I love that video, and I love the kids that are in that video. And incidentally, many of the parents that you saw in that video are now facilitators. All of our facilitators are volunteers, and they have had such a positive impact on their lives and in their families that they've come back to help other kids as well. So just to give you an idea of what the community, what childhood bereavement looks like, it's about 1 in 20 kids that will lose a parent by the time they are 18, and about 1 in 5 that will lose somebody close to them. So a parent or a sibling, a friend, a grandparent, or something like that. That equals about 400,000 kids, in North Texas. That's a lot of kids. So, while we're sitting here eating our lunch, there are about 400,000 kids that are sitting down to their lunch right now, and maybe they're having a difficult time eating because they're so deep in their grief, or having a difficult time concentrating in class. So it's a huge number of kids that we work very hard to make a small dent in. And as I said, the feelings for children are very confusing and overwhelming, and we know from our own experience that big feelings and painful feelings, they're going to come out. And they're going to come out in healthy ways, or they're going to come out in destructive ways. And if they come out in destructive ways, what that can look like is about 1 in children who lose a parent are 5 times more likely to die by suicide, are 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and are 10 times more likely to use drugs and alcohol. So I think it's about 92% of kids right now who are in drug and alcohol rehab have lost somebody close to them. And there was a study of 300 incarcerated teens, 96% of them had lost someone close to them. So grief can take a destructive path if children are not guided down a healthy path, and they need people to help them with that, because like I said, we don't come into the world with these skills naturally. So Journey of Hope intervenes at a critical point in the grief process. So we're essentially intervention and prevention. Grief in general for everybody is very isolating. And I know from my own experience, when my father died, I felt completely alone in my feelings, despite the fact that there were 2 other people in my home who were also grieving, who were also full of these feelings. But, for kids, they need other people to connect with who get what they're experiencing. And there's something really powerful for everybody about connecting with somebody else who is having our experience, and for kids especially. Kids don't understand, people don't understand what they're experiencing. So when they walk into a room, a 6-year-old, and there's a group of 6-year-olds who have that shared experience, it's a really powerful and a really healing thing. Grief in kids looks very different. So we tend to think kids are doing fine. We tend to look at kids the way we look at ourselves. When we feel sad or we're feeling lost, feelings of loss and grief, we might cry or withdraw and not want to talk to people, go back to bed and pull the covers up over our heads, not eat more. And we look at that and we look for that in kids, but it doesn't look like that in kids. And so we think kids are doing fine. I know when the day that my mom told me that my father had died, I remember that I was playing with friends in the street, and my brother came and got me, and I sat down on the sofa next to my mom. I don't remember the whole conversation, but what I do remember is I asked if I could go back out and play with my friends after, because it doesn't look the same. And so we look at kids and we think they're doing fine, they don't need help, but there's so much going on underneath the surface. So how Journey of Hope helps is we do a ton of outreach, and we try and connect with everybody and anybody who's going to be the first people that a grieving family is going to interact with. Determine if it's a good fit for them as well. And if they do determine it's a good fit, we place those children in groups of kids their own age. So we have a preschool group. We have a group for kids that are in kindergarten, first grade, grade second and third grade, 4 and 5. And then we have a middle school group and a high school group and a young adult group. And then we also have adult groups for the parents or adult caregivers based on type of loss. So we have a loss of spouse, loss of child, loss by suicide, and loss of other. And other can be all kinds of things. There can be a single parent raising kids and that parent dies. And maybe it's a grandparent or an uncle and aunt who is bringing them. And so that group is for a number of different situations. We have trained facilitators who are all volunteers. Many of them are counselors themselves. Many of them are interns or retired teachers. And many of them are just simply people like you who just have a heart for helping kids. And we train them. We put them through a weekend of intensive training. Excellent, wonderful training. And that for several years. Some who will come back. We had a little boy who lost his parents. He came to the program for a while, and then when he started high school, it triggered all kinds of feelings in him, and he was re-grieving. And so his adult caregiver brought him back to our program. The parent groups are very important, as one of the girls in the video said. When she lost her brother, her parents were only really part of the parent. So we're trying to heal the whole family. And while we help parents deal with their own grief, it helps them, therefore, be present for their children. It helps them to support children. And as I said, we don't really understand what grief looks like in kids, so we help them have the skills and tools and to know what to look for in their kids so that they can really support the children and the whole family heals. They also talked in the video about how we provide dinner. Dinner is a hugely important part of our program. It's an opportunity at the end of the day for people to just kind of decompress before group starts. It's also, I don't know if any of you have kids, it is very challenging to come home from work, pick up the kids, get them fed, get to baseball practice or whatever. So we kind of take care of that for them. It's also an opportunity for parents to connect and to form really strong bonds and friendships. Program 10 years ago when he was 6 years old. His mother brought him in. He was having all kinds of health problems and digestive problems because he was internalizing his grief. She took him to a counselor, and he didn't really make any progress, so she brought him to Journey. And he talked about just connecting with other kids his age really brought him out of that isolation. He started to learn how to deal with his feelings. He said several years later he had another major loss in his life, and he knew how to deal with it. And he knew that those feelings weren't going to last forever. And he really credited Journey of Hope for having those skills and having close to the Oklahoma border. Actually, we have people driving in from. And in 2018, we're opening up a location in North Dallas. So we're very excited about that. We've grown about 65% in the last 2 years. from about 450 kids and family members 2 years ago to 721, I think, this last year, which is extraordinary. Our move into Dallas is facilitated by church partners. We're very fortunate in that we have some great partners who offer a space in kind or at a very low cost to us, so that every dollar donated, that in addition to our volunteer facilitators, for every my personal life, I mean, I've been very drawn to this work, and probably outside of parenting, there is nothing more gratifying than helping the most vulnerable people in our community. And I don't know very many people who are more vulnerable than a child who's experienced a profound loss. So I would like to invite you to join me in helping these children and families. We have many ways that you can help. Between 40 and 100 people, depending.
So, do you have a kitchen where people come and prepare, or do people cater in, or how does that work?
So people usually prepare, groups usually prepare it off-site in their own kitchens or whatever, and then they'll come and bring it and serve it. And there's a kitchen where we have our groups, so they serve it.
So you're saying somebody would prepare a meal for 40 people in their home?
A group. And you would be shocked at how old some of those kids are. You would think teenagers wouldn't want a teddy bear. I can't tell you how many teenagers and middle schoolers will take a teddy bear. So the teddy bears are a big deal. And one of the girls who went through our program many years ago, who's now a facilitator, she still has her teddy bear from when she came in that first day.
I don't even know if I'm back online. We've had some connectivity issues with Facebook, so I'm not sure if it's back online. But if we are, sorry to the Facebook crowd for the network interruptions. Inevitably, that's what happens. So, and since we're just running Facebook Live, we will have this up. So there's good snippets of it. I know. So but there will be gaps. So just so you know, I think we ought to give Laura a great hand. And I appreciate the fact that she has that heart, and that's why I wanted to hear her story, because I didn't know, but I suspected that there was something in your past that gave you, because that's what happens. We have a heart connection, and part of the reason why I want to do these quarterly. Not everybody's going to jump on board and support Journey of Hope. Say, hey, I want to be a board member, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. But if we don't know and we don't have visibility, then it's hard to know where to go. And I think we all have a yearning. I mean, if we are, as we've learned, if you're happy in your life, you're giving, you're grateful, and you're growing. And this is part of, I'm grateful that I have friends like you and people in my life, and I'm always trying to give what I can to support other people's needs. And then part of what we do on Fridays is obviously the educational and growing. Here we're learning how to give, and also we're learning about a charity, so or a nonprofit, and that sounds like you're doing a great work. It sounds like you're making a difference. So how many do you have a number as to how many children since Journey of Hope has been around that
We
you've
don't.
impacted?
In the early days, I think it was kind of, there's a lot of bootstrapping that goes along
Sure,
with
I understand.
A startup, anything. So we don't have great records from the early days. But I'd have to calculate that. I know in the last probably 10, 12 years we have good records. So I don't have those numbers, but 721 in the last year or so.
721 in the last year, so that's significant. But anyway, I appreciate that. Actually, I call that evangelically speaking, when you actually, if you've ever been to church or whatever, and the evangelist says there was 40,000 people saved. Well, it's within that. I mean, the point is the impact is great, and we just need to understand that I'm glad you're an evangelist for Journey of Hope, and I'm glad you took the time to come here and share with us, and so appreciate that. I think we should give her another round of applause.
I don't know if you're aware of this, as you get your list built, you can upload it to Facebook. Facebook knows these people, and it will make a lookalike list. And so you can get millions of leads off of Facebook from people who are just like the people buying your stuff. So getting a list is very